It was about December 16th or somewhere around there that Ben contacted me. I don't know how you heard about me. How did you hear about me?
Ben.
Oh, Ben, where's Ben? Ben, how did you hear about me?
I think it was through discussions with captains.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Talking about who was out there after Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
Who was talking.
Yeah. Well, you're going to learn a little bit about my involvement with Gatlinburg. You're going to hear a lot about that today. I think we've all heard about what happened in Gatlinburg on November 28th, 2016. In fact, you're going to get a heavy dose of that today. I'm going to pick this apart in detail. A lot of it is based on information from the National Park Service, Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And by the way, I just got an email not about 10 minutes ago that they've updated the timeline of the wildfire, the Chimney 2 wildfire, and put out a new PDF. They put out a new PowerPoint with the graphics, and that just came out on a secure server, so I'm allowed to go in there and download it. So the information that you see here is from a recent download from the National Park Service, and it is public information, by the way, so don't worry about that. But so what I'm going to do today, what we're actually going to talk about, as soon as I get this going here. I'm heading forward.
Is it turned on? It was on. Is it turned on?
There we go. Thank you. So, what I'm going to first talk about is what we do know from the Gatlinburg fire, the Chimney 2 fire. First off, it burned about 119,000 acres total in the southeast. Now, by the southeastern standards, this is a lot of acreage for the southeast in general. 119,000 acres burned. I think all of you heard about this. You saw it on TV. It was all over TV. There were fires everywhere. This is in the fall, okay? And it's partially blamed on drought. We had major drought going on in the southeast and in the eastern U.S. in general, but especially in the southeast. And I'm going to go into a lot of detail about the impact that this drought had. And I'm going to show you a little bit of information that really shows that this drought may not have been that unusual. The deadliest fire, this was the deadliest fire in Tennessee ever. 14 people lost their lives. And this is kind of strange because you're going to see how really extraordinary this fire was. On the morning of November 28th, this fire was a good 5.5 miles from Gatlinburg. But 12 hours, 16 hours later, 14 people who woke up that morning were no longer living. This fire moved quickly. It took everybody by surprise. I went to bed that evening. I knew there was a front coming in. I knew there was going to be a potential for high winds. There were high winds at my house the next day. But I had no idea it would do what it did. The deadliest fire, it was in Gatlinburg. 14 people died. 17,000 acres. Just to give you an idea, in Tennessee total, we get about maybe 20,000 acres burned total each year. This one fire almost equaled that amount. In fact, in 2016, it was 17,000 acres total in Tennessee. 2015, 11,000. These are from wildfires. They have a separate category column for prescribed fires. The ignition source was 2 teenagers for the Chimney 2 fire. 2 teenagers. Everybody heard about that, right? This is just tragedy. There were 2 kids up there on the chimney tops. I'll show you chimney tops later on. They were just having fun. They were sitting on top of the ledges up there, and they were lighting matches and watching them fall down into the forest below them. And they had no idea what they were going to start. This was on November 23rd. Now, but also you need to keep in mind that the wild-urban interface is real. It's everywhere in the southeast. The experts, including me, we stated that the Gatlinburg fire was not preventable. It really kind of was not preventable. But you're going to see some caveats to that here. Was it preventable? In a sense, it may have been, if there had been some better long-term planning and management of the forest around Gatlinburg. So what we actually don't know, was this drought actually exceptional? So I'm going to show you some information, some data. Okay, so there will be a little data involved here that kind of emphasize the point that this fire may not, this drought situation may not have been that exceptional. We've had worse droughts in the past, and it wasn't that long ago that we had these worse droughts. By October, I knew we were in for something. Something was going to happen. October is when things started getting really, really dry, really desperate. The fuels were getting really dry in October 2016. By November, it was a major drought. But was this actually an exceptional drought? Are wildfires actually uncommon in the Southeast? This is a major misperception by a lot of people. You've heard a lot talk today, especially by Sarah, about the perception of wildfire, that people are not dumb. They know that fire occurs in these forests. It's a tough time for me, though, to convince people that fire was actually common before it became a national park. It's tough. It really is. And I'll show you why in just a minute. Is climate change actually affecting the risk of wildfires? Okay, a report just came out today. You can see how much of a nerd scientist I am. A report came out today in the journal Nature about extreme wildfire events. And it's predicting that there's going to be a 20 to 50% increase in extreme wildfires in the future. So I'm not going to talk too much about that in this talk, though. Is it actually true that these wildfires could not have been prevented? In the short term, maybe not. Because no one could have predicted the weather that was going. There's no way. We knew that there was going to be a change of weather, but we did not know it was going to be this extreme. So was it preventable? Some say maybe yes, some say maybe no. I say in the short term, no, it was not preventable, but in the long term, it was preventable. If we had done a better job managing these forests, if the National Park Service had been a little bit more proactive on using prescribed burns, that's what this fire council is all about. We're going to find out why they can't do prescribed burns around Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge. I'm going to talk about Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge together here. Okay, which brings us to what we're actually afraid of. What we're actually afraid of is that could these fires signal that a new threshold of wildfire hazard has been reached here in the southeastern United States? In other words, have we reached a tipping point? I just mentioned that article about extreme wildfires. Have we now reached a new tipping point? Because guess what? We've got 8 years worth of fuels have built up in and around Gatlinburg. So you heard a little bit about this earlier in the earlier talks. 80 years worth of fuels. There's been no major wildfire in that national park since 1934, when it became a national park. Been no wildfire. And this is really hard to get the people to understand, because now you talk to them, and I've talked to them before the fire, I've talked to them after the fire. How did this happen? Fires don't happen here. I've lived here 70 years. Fire is not common here. Okay, fire is not common here, but before 1934, fire was very common. It was very, very common, because that's what I do my research in, is fire history. So perhaps we've reached a new threshold level. As a fire scientist, I'm very interested in the forests of the Southeast, trying to learn their fire history, the fires, the frequency of fires, and the fire regimes in general. Fire was actually very common. Over on the left, you have our longleaf pine all along the coastal plain here, very fire dependent, very fire adaptive species. On the right is Table Mountain pine, an endemic in the Appalachians, which we have all the way up here in Pennsylvania as well. It is a very fire dependent, fire adapted pine species. And I tell people this all the time. I try to, again, communicating science, trying to make people understand that these species, not just these two, but many others in the Southeast, are very fire adapted. And you don't get by being you don't get fire adapted by experiencing wildfires over 100 years, or 200 years, or 500 years, or 1,000 years. These adaptations have taken millennia, hundreds and hundreds of millennia, to become fire adapted. These species have become fire adapted. They've become used to having frequent fire. We have all the fire adaptations. Of course, Table Mountain pine, one of our favorite, species that has, and I do a lot of research on the Table Mountain pine. This species requires fire. A certain temperature will allow the cone to open up, drop the seeds down. Hopefully the seeds will drop down on mineral soil that's created by rooting the duff by fire, and the species can regenerate. Well, guess what? We're losing our Table Mountain pine. Our Table Mountain pine, our shortleaf pine, our pitch pine in the southern Appalachians, we're losing it. It's not reproducing. In the Chattahoochee National Forest of northern Georgia, we went in at 30 random plots on this mountain, a place where there were huge shortleaf. Massive shortleaf. Lots of big pines all around. In those 30 random plots, not a single seedling, not a single sapling of yellow pines. They're gone. They have to have fire and without fire, they're not going to come back. So the Park Service, the National Park Service, Great Smoky Mountains National Park, they're aware of this. They know the need for fire. And so, yes, they do conduct prescribed burns on the order of 500 acres, 1,000 acres, and I think they had one recently, 2,500 acres. Now, for the National Park Service, Great Smoky Mountains National Park, that's pretty big. But what we're talking about, Great Smoky Mountains National Park, is 510,000 acres. And a lot of that has not burned in 80 years. That means now we have fuels built up, but the forests are much more dense now. Extremely dense. I mean, to the point where it's almost hard to travel in the understory. And if you're trying to get through the understory, forget it, because you're having to deal with shrubs. If you look on the back of this, you'll see the shrubs in the upper right, the erication shrubs, our rhododendron, our mountain laurel on the peaks, extremely flammable. Our forests in the southern area of the Appalachians and the central Appalachians have become choked with extremely flammable erication shrubs. And they're growing now in places they historically did not grow. This is something else we're having to deal with. Okay? I went to an elementary school recently, and one of my favorite questions I asked the students, they're fifth graders, science class. Okay? So I tell them, or I ask them, tell me, are forest fires good or bad? I don't try to introduce any bias here. I just want to hear their opinions. I want to hear their opinions. So I ask these students, every time I go to an elementary and middle school, I ask them this question, are forest fires good or bad? What do you think they're going to say? Are they going to say good? No. They don't say good, because they get this message all the time. This is the visitor center on the national parks. This is what kids see. They see what wildfires do. They see that fires are very destructive. They see that fires, oh my gosh, look at this. And of course, then you see this. Here's our smoky bear. Only you can prevent. What the heck kind of message is this? So there's Smoky Bear, there's the forest burning up, there's our little woodland creatures, our bunnies, our deer, everything like that. Oh my gosh, forest fire. This is what the kids see. And they're astounded when I tell them that, guess what? Fires can be good and bad. They go, what? They can be good. We know that. We've heard that many times already today. We know that. You're professionals. We're all professionals. We know that fires can be good. But this is what the kids see. Oh my gosh, we've made the bear kid friendly. This is why a lot of families chase after black bears in Great Smoky Mountain National Park. My God, the bear is now friendly. We have made a balloon, okay, of Smoky Bear that goes to all the balloon things, Oh, and if you're a kid, guess what? You can go for a ride in this thing, which they did in 2004, and then this happened. This is the Smoky Bear people, and I am not making this up. Kids in Siberia know Smoky Bear better than they know Mickey Mouse. This is true. I mean, that's what we have created here. And that's what kind of I'm up against as a scientist. And what many of us are up against is that Smokey is right. He's good. He's definitely getting the word out, trying to educate people about the dangers of fires. But at the same time, I wish he was somehow getting the message across that fires can be good. That there is such a thing as good fires. That certain forests actually need a fire. When I tell the kids, I say, have you been to giant sequoias out in California? Oh, they're 33 feet in diameter, 250 feet tall. Guess what? Without fire, that doesn't reproduce. I tell the kids that. Without fire, we wouldn't have giant sequoias. So anyway, trying to get the word across is sometimes difficult. Let me talk a little bit about drought. What you're going to see here is this little animation showing the drought as it developed here in the southeast. You can see it developing from October to early November. Notice what happens here in the southeast, especially that area in the bold over here. Okay, here it is. That's October 4th, October 11th. Watch it as it grows. Now into November. And one more. That is a big area of drought. Now, this was the drought situation the day after the Gatlinburg fire. So that just gives you an idea of the size of this drought right in there. That's huge. So this is November 2016. And just for comparison, let's just take a look at here's the current situation, January. That's when I put this presentation together. January, there's nothing. So the drought has been alleviated. That's because the night of the Gatlinburg fire, it started to rain. By the way, that's the only reason the wildfire was extinguished. It rained. If it hadn't rained that night, beginning about 1 o'clock, I don't know what would have happened to the rest of Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge. The rains did come in when that front got closer and closer.